Funding for Love to Paint with Mimi was provided by Agnes Gund. Utrecht Art Supplies, celebrating 60 years. And by Kelly and Robert Day. Additional funding was provided by the following.
Hi, I'm Mimi. Today we're going to see how art is not only fun, but how it has the power to heal and change a community. Ready, set, go. Here we go. Paint on paper. This is what creation is about. Woo, isn't that beautiful? This is the beach. Look at that green against that yellow. I mean, it just sings. We're dancing with this color. It's going across the page. I'm a shape maker. That's what artists do. They make shapes, they create color, they do all these incredible things. Oh, I love to paint. Recently, I went to Central Falls High School in Rhode Island, where there had been a tragic loss of a life by gang violence. And through an extraordinary art event, the community was healed. Let's go take a look.
It's been a very difficult time in our school community. The kids are scared. They miss the fact that someone from their school is gone, and quite frankly, some of the teachers were scared for a while, and it just shifted everything here.
The whole art department thought of this event and trying to bring us back together, and knowing that we're still united, and knowing that we still have love and care and peace for everything.
There was a Fulbright teacher that came to our school several years ago from Portugal, and they do this thing called a cordel, and cordel means clothesline in Portuguese. And so they take student writing and they take student artwork and they hang it up in town squares. They hang it up all over the place, and they have the community come out and look at this. And so we started to talk about that as an idea. And then somebody said, well, geez, we should do something with hands. And somebody said, well, what if we did this outside? And somebody else said this and somebody else said that. And so the 5 or 6 of us that were around the table started to come up with this installation idea.
We made a big art event of wishes that the whole school had about everything that has happened, peace and respect and love. And we decided to put it all together and make a big art event outside.
Once you read the messages that some of them had, we're like, oh wow, I didn't think people would actually think like this. Like most of them were like, peace, let's not have hate, love instead of hate, and things like that.
I personally wish for just peace in Central Falls and and any other community. No violence, and everybody works together as a team or a family.
We made these big banners and we put everybody's hand on it and drew their hands. It was a way to show that everybody cared and that everybody wanted to participate in the event. I really love art, painting and dancing and everything. It's a way to express myself. And this art event, it really got to everybody. That knowing that we all had wishes, that everything that has happened, and to bring it all together outside.
I think art shifts your heart. And so once many hearts are shifted, it can't help but shift a community. The minute the kids walked out, it shifted everything for us. Our hearts have been so broken over the past few weeks. And maybe they healed a little bit, just a little bit today.
Wasn't that extraordinary, the healing power of art? And the healing continues on. Not only do the students and the teachers feel safe in the school, the installation is still outside reminding everyone of that day, and the students have been invited down to the United Nations in September for the International Day of Peace. Today, I'm going to do a peaceful painting, a place that I loved. But before we start, I want to tell you what we're going to be using today. We are using a 2-inch varnish brush. And this is my beautiful little number 10 sable. These are the only two brushes I need today. And the colors are going to be Ultramarine Blue, and that is Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green. Woo, look at that beautiful color. And then this is Alizarin Crimson, Cadmium Red, New Gamboge, Cadmium Yellow, Burnt Umber, and Burnt Sienna. The first thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a very little outline or a little tiny sketch just so I can see what's the composition is going to be like. So I'm going to take a little bit of pink, just a touch, and we're going to just for the composition, I'm going to be starting in here and coming down here. I don't want to make it too dark, just a little color reference. So we're going to come down here about like that, across here. Then we have right in here some trees coming down. And I need to have this a little lower. We're always adjusting. You know the rule of thirds, which is about 2/3 for the top, 1/3 for the bottom. And then we're going to come in here and we have a little piece of something in the foreground, a little beach type of thing. This is in the Rockies, and it's so incredibly beautiful. And when I lived out there for 10 years, I would walk in the mountains, and I saw this composition over and over again. And then we have trees down in here. Now, this isn't much, but it gives me enough of an idea of what my composition is. And then we're going to start right out with this incredible alizarin. And you're going to see me mixing it there. It is such a beautiful, bright, vibrant color. And when you wake up early in the morning, sometimes there's this pink in the sky. And that's what I'm going to be painting right now. Here we go. It's so exciting, those first brushes. And it takes courage to put that paint down. When you first put it down, and we know it's going to start dripping here, we can see those drips. But I'm taking it right over, all the way over the side. And I'm not going to cover up every little piece of the paper. I'm going to leave some whites, just for the fun of it. And I think I'd like to have it a little bit darker at the top than at the bottom. So we might go back into the top. And this also gives this incredible feeling of harmony. When you have a color underneath, the trees like this, there's harmony. And in here is the water. And I'm going to just take that up a bit. And the water will be reflecting the sky. So let's take this right in here. And I want to have a little bit of white. I'm leaving purposely a little bit of white. Because the white sparkles, and watercolor is about the translucency and the white of the paper coming through. And now we've got a little speckles going on there. And now we're going to go up, and we're going to start on some of the colors in the back of this hill. In the Rockies, the mountains are very, very new compared to, say, the Adirondack Mountains. And that means they're much stronger, they're higher, and they're rockier, and they're more angular. Now, we have a beautiful little mountain here in the back. And I'm going to test here to see if it's dry. And you know, it is just about dry. And if you're at home, unless you're under a hot light, your paints are not going to dry this fast. So you might want to stop, record the show, and go a little slowly. But at least you get to see how I do this. And this is so much fun because I'm a fast painter. And it's almost dried. You see there's a little wet there? And the color we're going to use in here is, we're going to use purple. Now, the way you make purple is alizarin, crimson, and then we're going to use Phthalo Blue. And you see we're going to start to mix it in here. And you see how it just turned into purple? It's so amazing. And I think it might be a little too purple. We're going to add a tiny bit more. And this is what you do in painting. You add a little more. It's a little too dark, a little too light, a little too blue, a little too red. So we're going to start, and we're going to go in and make these mountains. And there are 3 mountains, and we're going to go up, and then there's a little mountain in the back, like that. And then there's a 3rd mountain going up like this. And they're all very, very jagged. And now we want to make this a little bit more straight. There's a little bit of rough edge there, which could be that. I mean, anything's possible. Now, as we come down, it's going to be bluer because up toward the top of a mountain, it's more purple. And as you come down, it gets bluer. So I'm going to go in with the ultramarine. We don't really need that brush yet. And I'm going to do this. And we got to work a little fast here. Isn't this just extraordinary? And that isn't quite right because that would not happen. That would not go in like that. It will go up and out, up, down. And so we're taking the mountain down, and we're going to go all the way down here. Now that looks like a pretty dark mountain, but anything's possible in the mountains because if there are clouds up there, you could have shadows all over the place. Now and you could have lights and darks, and there are also ridges. So I'm going to just go in with this and pull out. My brush is dry, and it's pulling out the pigment. Now that looks pretty good, and I've got to leave it alone. It's so tempting. You know how tempting it is to keep teasing. They call it tickling the painting. We don't want to tickle it to death. Now I wash the brush out. I want a nice clean brush here. And I'm thinking about the foreground, and I'm going to have, it's a little bit of a sandy beach. This reminds me of one morning when I got up really early, and I went out, and I saw this just incredible pink sunrise. And this just reminds me to put this beach in here, or this sand, or whatever you want to call it. And it's reminding me, don't go into that area with the pink. So we got a little of that going on there. Now, these are these trees that come down, and they're so powerful. And so it's amazing how high they are. Now, I just looked at something. You see how I got that spot there? That is it's a water spot. It was wetter where I put the brush down than the paper. I must have dropped a little water in there. But you know, these things happen in watercolor. You don't really pay a lot of attention to it. You just think, I'm having the fun of painting. Now, I'm taking my brush, and I'm also, when I get too much water in it, which caused that, I want to take some of the wet out of the brush. So I either put it on the sponge, or I put it in some tissue. Now, I just love color. And we're going to have a little color. I think what I should do is wipe this thing off so I have a clean surface to work with. As you can see, this is a beautiful, clean palette. And it's got a lid on it, so I can put the lid on it, put a sponge in to keep it wet, and store the colors that way. So I'm going to have some color going down here, and I'm going to put a touch of blue in there, which is going to turn it green. And maybe it would be green over here, or a little yellowy green. We want to vary the color a little bit just so we can. I had a wonderful teacher once that said, painters are entertainers. You have to entertain the viewer. And then we have coming down here some of that, and that's pretty good. Now we want to go up here, and it's darker up toward the top in this particular painting. So I'm taking some of the burnt umber, burnt sienna. I can dip in any colors to make this dark, and I like that. That was the alizarin. Okay, so we're going up here, and remember, watercolor dries a lot lighter than what you put down. Now, we're going right to work here as fast as we can. And we're going to go down here like this. Woo, look at that. And we're going to take that down there. And we're going to get working here. Now, oh, look at that phthalo blue. Oh, so incredibly beautiful, just incredibly beautiful. And then we're going to go over here, and I think we'll put a little brown in there. It's going to be heading down this way. Now, this is such a natural composition. You can see what's happening here. Everything's going into the center of the page. And so you get a natural composition. You're guiding the eye in there. And we have a little bit behind here, too. And we don't, all these little whites, I think we're going to knock some of those out. We like some, but not too much. Take a little bit in there to take the eye in. Woo, look at that. Look at that green against that yellow. I mean, it just sings. And now we're going to go over here. And that's a little too green, so I'm going to put a little brown in there and make it come down this way. And we're going to take this down like this. Oh, it's so beautiful. The Rockies are just extraordinary, the mountains. And being in nature, people are inspired by different things. Some people are inspired by nature. Some people are inspired by color. And now what we have here is a little goof. Do you see my goof? I took this down too far. But what we're going to do is we're going to carry it across here. I took that, so we're just going to take it across like this. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to put reflections in the water. And this is going to be reflecting right here. We need a little more green, so I think I'll put a little yellow in there. Oh, look at this. And this is going to come down here like this. And I'm thinking ahead here because I know I'm going to have some trees right there. And you see, we have to think all the time. That was turning into another little bubble, water bubble thing. And so we have this down here. This is where the reflection is coming in. And now what we need to do is we're going to take this other little wonderful brush, this number, I guess it's a number 10. And if you get a really super brush, it's very important to buy a good brush. You don't need many. If you just even have these two, buy a brush that has a good point. And this brush holds a lot of water. So we're going to take this across here. And I don't want to forget that I want a little bit of reflection of this mountain in the water. So we go back to our alizarin and our phthalo blue, making purple. Oh, look at that purple. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with this brush and I'm going to have a little reflection. Now that really is not purple. There, this is more purple. And we're just going to have a little reflection of that under there. You know, there it is. And I forgot that we were going to put some reflection of trees in here. And it's perfect time to put the tree reflections in because it's still wet. The paint is still wet. And we're going to have some trees over in here. Now, what we're going to do is, oh, I know what, we were going to go back in and put that little beachy thing along there. It goes like this. Use a little brown. And then it goes like this. That wasn't quite the color I cared for, but you know something, I really don't care that much. I just want to say there's a little beach thing going on here. And actually over here, it was kind of like a little green. It wasn't quite so sandy. There was a little more green in there. We'll pull that around here. And now we go in for the dancing, the incredible dancing trees. This is so much fun. I get this brush, it holds a lot of pigment, and we are going to start these trees, and they're up at the top like this. We have to a little more water in there, and they come all the way down the ridge line. This is called the ridge line. And we're going to bring it down, and some of them are larger than others, and we don't want it to be exactly a straight line. It gets too boring. So we have it going up and down, and we want to make it interesting. You know, we don't want to do dot, 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 dot. We want da, 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 dot. Okay, now we have it over here as well. We make these little trees going down here. And of course, as we get further away, they get smaller. And it's further away here and they get lighter. And then right here at the bottom, we have a whole bunch of little trees right here. Oh, and we're trying to vary the color a little bit here. And you know, there's something really exciting about putting a red in. Just any place. Just have the daring to put a red in somewhere. You don't know quite why it's there, but you just put it in. And it makes the color exciting. Now we've got to keep going here. And as we get down here, there are probably going to be some more trees up in here. And it's like quite dark enough, so we go back in. We don't want that to drip. And we want this whole line over here to be going down. But remember what I said? We don't want to all be in a straight line. We want some going up and some going a little bit in, down here and up. And we're going to just wipe that away. And then we're going back into the brown and the greens. And here we have a bunch of trees right here, right on the edge of the water. And we're going to vary the color because it makes it more fun. There are these wonderful pine trees. And then we have one here. And I'm almost tempted to start using that big brush because I know, see, look, we can do anything with these brushes. You can have a big brush, a small brush. And we have this going on in here. And this is going back. And then we have some little shadows that come across like this. We can even have it coming across like that. And it just makes the tree sit down a bit. You know, we want it to sit down. And then we have right here, we're going to have some more trees, and that's not quite dark enough. And I'm going to throw a little alizarin in there, and a little brown, and a little blue. I haven't used that phthalo green at all much today. That's called a staining pigment. And it will stain. But it's beautiful color, and it's good that it stains, not our clothes, but it's really great that it stains the paper. Then we go along here, and this is the edge of the water here, and it goes like this. And we want some trees coming down in here. And that is like those shapes is like too even. So we want to put another tree in here just to break it up a bit. And I think right here we want a little something different. Now, when there's water, often there is a little wind that goes across the water. So here we go. We're going to put a little wind across the water this way. It's just a slight indication. And then we don't know what these little spots are, but they're little, you know, they could be little pieces of log or wood or who knows what they are. So here we go. We're just about finished up here. I mean, this is an exciting painting. And we had so much fun doing it. It's just so extraordinary to think that we made a painting in this amount of time and that it brings back the peace and the joy of being in nature on a still wonderful day. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've gotten your brushes out and you're painting or you're doing some kind of creative endeavor. But whatever it is, enjoy your day, have fun, and create.
For more inspiration and to order DVDs, please visit mimisammis.com. Funding for Love to Paint with Mimi was provided by Agnes Gund, Utrecht Art Supplies, celebrating 60 years, and by Kelly and Robert Day. Additional funding was provided by the following: